Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're talking about how to help someone who's struggling. Join us as we share how and when to help, what is the right kind of support, and how do we struggle with doing this in our own lives. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're talking about how to help someone who's struggling. How do we provide the right kind of support? And we're doing this topic because we're continuing our once-a-month series about the book Let Them by Mel Robbins. A New York Times bestseller, this book was written to help give people the tools to create a better life and better relationships. Once a month, we're reading a chapter or two and discussing how to put this into practice in our real lives. And as with all of our book series, you don't have to be reading the book to enjoy this episode. So join us as we try to share our thoughts on the Let Them theory and how we've been putting it into practice. And for those of you who have not read the book or you haven't listened to our previous episodes on this book, just real quick, the Let Them theory is a step-by-step guide on how to stop letting other people's opinions, drama, and judgment impact your life. Outside of the book, this means the theory is all about simply letting others do what they will. And I sort of feel like of all the chapters we've gotten to so far, this is going to really ring true where it says, stop letting other people's opinions, drama, and judgment impact your life. At least I felt that. These two chapters were hard. How did you guys feel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these chapters dealt with some really heavy stuff that I personally haven't dealt with. I've seen it in extended family and I've talked to people that have dealt with it, but I haven't dealt with it personally. But there's probably applications to any emotional burden we carry. We could maybe apply it.
Yeah, I think so.
To other situations.
Right. I feel like up until this point with the book, it's been about kind of just fixing your attitude. Last time we talked about how to influence others, especially we all have adult children. Like we're not parenting and telling our kids what to do. We're not in that role anymore. And so really more how to change from parenting to influencing, and also people that we love in our lives. Well, these two chapters are heavy, hard stuff and how to handle those. Because we all know the only person that you can change is yourself. And so I actually think I was like, gosh, this could be the meat that somebody might really need if they're struggling with some of the things that we're going to talk about. So it is very practical advice for some very hard situations.
Yes,
it is. We have our resident summarizer who's going to get us started on these two chapters. Just kind of set up where we're coming from here, Julie.
Okay, towards the end of this chapter, she actually told a real life story. And then once you know the story, we can kind of back it up with how she applied all that she's trying to teach us. She was saying that in her child's, I think, middle school years, her child developed some terrible anxiety, and it would manifest, itself all day. And then at night, she'd wake up at 2 a.m, terrified, alone, to be alone in her room. And so she would come to the parents' bedroom, and Mel didn't know what to do. So she'd say, just climb in bed with us, and thinking this would just pass. And it didn't. And she actually ended up making a little pallet on the floor, like another bed for her daughter. And so her daughter just kept coming in. And I think this lasted 6 months. Her husband was really upset, like, this is not the way to handle this. And he was trying to be the bad guy. And then she got emotional over, seeing her daughter so upset. And she said, it is normal to wake up in the middle of the night and feel anxious, like we all do, but it doesn't have to spiral. And she felt like her reaction maybe contributed to the spiraling. Like maybe enabled her daughter to not actually learn to deal with the fear herself. By keeping the pain away and not letting her experience that, she didn't give her daughter an opportunity to grow and kind of learn how to manage her emotions herself.
I could so relate because it's so easy to tell, like we all know this about parenting, like right from the time all of our babies were born, since we all did sleep training. Basically, the idea behind that is everybody, children included, wake up multiple times a night, but you're not aware of it because you know how to put yourself back to sleep. So it's not this startling thing where then you cry out and you need someone to help you. Like, we all learn to regulate that way. And so that is your idea. That is the goal behind getting your child to sleep through the night. And if you go in there and pick them up and don't allow them to learn to put themselves back to sleep, then you're just kind of prolonging that process. And this kind of relates to the anxiety thing or anything in parenting where we so desire, because it's uncomfortable for the mom to let their baby cry a little bit to go back to sleep. And it's uncomfortable to do anything in parenting where you know the end goal, if they can learn to do this or regulate this, will be in their best interest. But in the meantime, we have to go through some pain, and that's painful for the child and painful for the parent. And so I can so relate to why she wanted to just set up that little bed in the bedroom, because no one wants to see their child cry and be unhappy.
Yeah, that's a great example. I had not even thought about sleep training, going back that far, because I loved the result, like that they did learn to settle themselves and soothe themselves and go back to sleep, and were great sleepers their whole childhood. But that was the hardest thing to do, we would just lay awake and go, should we go in now? Should we just rescue now? And we did. Of course, we went in and checked, and it was a learning experience, but it was the hardest. I think it's one of the hardest things about parenting.
Yeah. Yeah, it really rocked my world with my first, because I didn't start off doing that, and so then I realized once I started to have Abby start to self-soothe, I had created a monster, because I had been going in and getting her thinking like, I really want to go back to sleep. Like, I could see Mel being like, it's faster to just let me get in bed, get her in my bed, because I want to go back to sleep. Like, I'm exhausted. But literally, when I realized that I had actually taught Abby to cry then for me, and that was her cue to cry, like when I realized that that's what was happening, then she had to cry longer to figure out how to self-soothe. Like, it made it worse. Had I started from the beginning of the self-soothing, she would have cried a lot less. It actually would have been kinder. And so, yeah, it's really, really easy to see that being just a very difficult thing. And I know that whole anxiety thing with children, I think probably the three of us have navigated that in other seasons of our children's lives too. And Julie, you mentioned you're laying there awake. You are very aware. You're very cognizant that your child is in discomfort, or maybe when they're older, pain, hurting, and everything in you wants to step in.
And that's something you said is exactly one of her points, was that when you rescue and enable, then you are actually prolonging the suffering, and the purpose of her chapter is to talk about rescuing from addictions, really bad habits, like not just self-soothing at night. Like, this is
Right.
really serious things, but I do think it can apply to other situations. But you're right, like whenever you take away the natural consequences or pain, it does just prolong the healing.
Right.
And one thing I want to say too is she makes a distinction in the first chapter between raising children and dealing with adults. And so these chapters are mostly dealing with adults. We just use the child example because that's so relatable to people. But with kids that we're still emotionally and physically and financially responsible for, we're going to intervene and give different kinds of support than we would to adult children or friends or extended family members. Like, those are going to be different levels.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. And she said there actually is a chapter at the end that's specifically for supporting your child in situations like these. But this chapter is primarily about adults who, she makes the point that adults only change when they feel like it. And I think we talked about that in the last couple of chapters.
Right.
And that you'll be ready for them to change long before they are.
Right.
I thought that was interesting.
That's true. She does make the point that your brain is not fully formed until you're 25. So she actually gives a little talk about, looking at your 18-year-old who is legally an adult is still trying to grow up. And from a neuroscience perspective, they still need a lot of guidance. And so, but she pretty much says after 25, you're an adult. Like,
Yeah.
it's you.
Yeah.
This is maybe a tangent and maybe we'll include it, maybe we won't. But when you were growing up, did you ever hear that you were not a fully formed adult until you were 25?
No.
No.
Okay, because I feel like I never, ever heard that. And I've even heard like 26. And I think of all the things that so many people do before they're 25. Like even you, Mindy, getting married at 18, having
Right.
kids at like 21. Like I had
Yep.
my first child before 25. I got married before I was 25. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if that's really true. I mean, I could say that you're less mature than you would be at 30, but people for generations have gotten married at 16, had family. Like, I don't know. I
Right.
feel like that's kind of a modern construct that now all of a sudden we don't have fully formed brains until 25. Like, I don't know. I find it hard to reconcile that with all that previous generations used to do. Go to war? Like, I don't
Yeah,
know. I
right.
just don't get that totally. I feel like it might be coddling our generation or the next generation a little bit. Does that ever strike you as not making sense?
I didn't think that it was that you weren't an adult until you're 26. I've just heard that your brain isn't fully formed. That's what I've always heard. So I don't know if that relates to being an adult,
And
like that
yet
your
we
brain is
send
still
these
maturing.
less than fully formed adults off to fight for us. So, like, I don't know. I don't get that. I
Listen,
don't know that I buy that.
I do remember hearing that that's how the Lord created us, and that young men would not necessarily go off and fight and do some of these heroic things that we have read about and know about in history because their brains aren't fully formed yet.
Oh.
It is because of that that so much is able to get done. I would say that was one of my best decisions that I made at 18 to get married. But looking at my children, I mean, I don't know if that's, just individuals, if that's what. I mean, God's hand on it. Providence, I don't know.
I guess I
Yeah.
just feel like my own parents were not 25 when they had me. So, like, what does that say about them, their parenting, their decision making? I don't know. Like, there's so many things that have happened to people with parents and so many things they've done before 25. I just, sometimes when I read that, I think, I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't think age makes you better at parenting. I think parenting makes you better at parenting.
Right.
So,
True,
like, whenever
true.
you start, like,
Yeah.
just because you're 30 before you have your first child doesn't mean you'll necessarily be a better parent, because you have
Right.
more wisdom. I think
Yeah.
you just grow in that role,
I don't know. That just strikes me. Like, I never heard that growing up. So I don't know if it's a new
No.
revelation to people or what.
Well, let's connect the two conversations that we've had so far on this podcast. We talked about teaching our children to self-soothe as infants. We all kind of talked about our children have maybe struggled with anxiety, at different points in life. If we have maybe done our jobs as parents and teaching our kids to self-soothe and figuring out the tools how to combat the issues that arose in their childhood, maybe they're ready for some other things as young adults, and they're already used to taking on responsibility for themselves. And if that has progressively grown throughout the years in your home and as they've left the home, they're already used to those natural social consequences that happen from their decisions. And so maybe they are a little bit more responsible. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just, every time I read that, I scratch my head a little bit.
You're like, hey, if insurance is willing to cover our children until the age of 26, there's something there. Otherwise, they would not.
Well,
Well, that
that's true.
shows you the difference because insurance
Yes.
did not used to consider them
No, I
adult
mean, you
children.
were kicked off when you were 22.
Mhm.
College was the end. Some people probably didn't even get covered through college. I don't know.
Well, I think even
Yeah.
the term adolescence hasn't even always been a word, like,
Right.
when you read biblical stories, I mean, people were often kings and leading countries at
Right.
14, 15, and
Mhm.
given great responsibility. So, adolescents, of course, their lifespan, they might have only lived to 32. So,
Mm.
but
Yeah, just something to think about if you've ever read it or thought about it. This is not the only time I've seen it. I mean, I've heard it for years. Only I
mhm,
never heard it till I was like in my 30s, like way past
yeah.
the time
Mhm.
of any of these decisions. But still,
Mhm.
I can't help but think like, huh.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so anyways, basically the title of chapter 16 is "The More You Rescue, the More They Sink." And I think that people have either seen other people in this situation or experienced where you help, you help, you help, and nothing you seem to do makes the situation any better. What are some of the principles? What does she say about this?
Well,
Well, the first thing is adults only change when they feel like it. And I do have an example of a very extended family member that I only saw once or twice a year. But looking from the outside, I was always confused about like how the family was handling the situation. And now I think, gosh, like after reading this, I had no idea what was going on. But um, this person struggled with alcoholism and always going into rehabs. And I think it was like kind of forced and it never worked.
Mm,
And I think that was just an example of I don't think this person really wanted to get better. And there was really
right.
nothing, from the outside, it looks like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Or why don't you not do that? And, you know, it's easy to make those judgments when you don't know what that's like, but, this person just
Right.
didn't really want the help, and that has got to be hard to watch, up close. I was at a very great distance, so and I just
Mhm.
and it was sad to watch even from afar.
Mhm. I appreciated this line in the book that she says, in your attempt to help, you may unknowingly be preventing other adults from finding their strength to face their struggles. The more you try to rescue someone from their problems, the more likely they will continue to drown in them. And so then she goes into allowing them to face natural consequences. And she uses the words, let them struggle.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah, she said they need to feel the pain. I like this word, to
Yeah.
galvanize their own will and desire and strength to change. And she said that could apply to these really heavy things like addiction, but it could also apply to losing weight,
Right.
um, depression, even grieving. Like I could relate to this on some level about even my grief. You have to want to get out and get better. And
mhm,
sometimes you just don't,
mhm.
and no matter how much somebody wants that for you, you have to decide that for yourself.
And in your grief, Julie, because you've been dealing with this for a couple of years, are there things that people do that almost they might think are supporting, but they almost enable you? Or are there things that people do that are supportive that actually help you? Because I did think of you when I was reading these chapters, because I imagine that some people could provide what they think is support, but maybe it's not supportive. And I'm not saying maybe you personally, but just
Mhm.
in this type of situation.
Yeah, I guess just, people asking you to join, people asking you to do things, checking in, and not giving up because they think you should be past it or
Mhm.
or it's been 2 years, that kinda thing, and then just, I struggle on my end of wanting to I was always wanting to say yes because I didn't want it to stop. I didn't want the invitation to end.
Mm, mhm.
And now I have stopped, and a lot of them have ended,
Mm,
um,
mhm.
I don't know, it's hard. It's not no one can make you wanna do something.
Mhm.
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 It just takes time, and I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, she talks about, we talked before about, she said, Dr. K taught you that human beings are hardwired to move toward what feels easier and pleasurable in the moment and to avoid what is painful and hard. So, one example that she uses is someone that deals with getting drunk or, alcohol. She said, she once heard an addiction specialist say that no one gets sober until being drunk is more painful than facing the
Mm,
thing you're running from. And that actually made sense to me with looking at it from getting healthy, that standpoint, because I remember having to get to a place of, I was concerned I was going to develop diabetes. I was concerned I was going to get some sort of disease. I was concerned I wasn't going to be able to have a life with my children, physically being able to keep up with them, being energetic for them, feeling good for them, even emotionally, because of my unhealthy habits. It took me getting to that point of hating how I felt there before I was willing to do the hard work of going to the gym and
Mhm.
changing how I ate. And so I understood that she was like, yeah, you have to make a different choice. It had been easy for me to just ignore and seek comfort in food for years until it became more painful than changing that. And so I did understand that particular aspect of letting someone get to the point of being tired of that pain.
Yeah, I related to that a little bit too, and that, like, letting the feeling isolated, which I was choosing, feel bad enough to say it's worth to put myself out there, you know?
Mm.
Yep.
You kinda have to I had to kinda sit in that. I mean, for a couple months ago, that's kinda where I was, and I've kinda started to come out of that more. Um, but you're right, it's like that has to start feeling so bad that you just don't want that either,
You're like,
you know?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's hard when both choices stink. I'm thinking of your situation,
Yeah.
Julie, like
Yeah.
sitting home stinks, but maybe being in a group feels crappy too. Like, you know
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like neither
Right.
neither choice probably feels awesome.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that probably is how it felt even in the beginning of your health journey, Mindy. Like,
I
Yeah, getting
hated
off
it.
the couch doesn't feel good
I
when, like
hated it. I listen, my friend Charlotte, I've told you guys, like, I had to be more afraid of her than
yeah.
like, if I canceled on her, I was scared. I was not gonna cancel on her. You
Right.
should be a little bit afraid of your trainer, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
She very much put it in my lap. She was like, "You I will do this for you, but you better show up." Like, I'm
Uh-huh. Yeah, so I guess all that to say, like, sometimes at the beginning of change, neither option is really feeling good until you get a little further down the line.
Well, I think she said that the beginning is the hardest,
Yeah.
because you're like we've said before, the human brain is wired to move towards
Mhm.
easy. And so
Mhm.
until you can kind of flip-flop that, just by making the choice,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily feel good.
Yeah.
One thing that I liked that she said is, most people that are struggling will hide it from you. And I think she said probably
Mhm.
all of us have somebody in our life that's struggling and maybe we don't even know it. And this month, I've been reading this book called Knowing God. It's part of my Colson Fellows thing, and it's kind of describing like the similarities and differences in knowing God and knowing people, like how they're similar and how they're different. And said, like how well you know someone is really dependent on how much they want you to know them.
Mm.
God wants us to know Him. He's revealed Himself in His Word
Mhm.
and speaking to us and through the Holy Spirit. But with other people, it's tricky because we keep secrets from people. I mean,
Mhm.
we can know even our spouse, like, we don't know everything about them.
Mhm.
Like, we
Mhm.
wanna hide because we're afraid of what people would really think if they knew us.
Mhm.
We'd be ashamed of things we've thought or said. And
Mhm.
I just thought, God's love is so different. Like, while I mean, it's based at every point on prior knowledge of all my worst thoughts and everything. So
Right.
he's never gonna finally say, "Oh, now I'm disillusioned with you, Julie, now that I know this." Like, that will never
Mhm.
happen.
Mm.
And
Right.
Mhm.
and I think it just made me think that since we think that with people, we probably think that
Mhm.
about God too, even though it's not true. And that was just a
Right.
neat revelation to me. God's never gonna discover something and go,
No.
"Wow,
No,
you
because
really disappointed me."
his word says we are fully known and
Mhm.
fully loved, and I think that it's still hard to grasp, the
Mhm.
Yeah.
fully known, because we do get to choose how we present ourselves to the public.
Mhm.
Mhm. I liked this line that she said, the more you judge someone for their behavior, the better they will get at lying to you about it. And I have experienced this so many times. I find that if you poke at a soft spot or a vulnerable spot or a painful spot or a habit someone's breaking too often, all of a sudden, there's all this, no, I'm not doing that, or I did that, but it was just for a short period of time, or no, I stopped that a long time ago, or you find something later where they really were. Like, it's just human nature that if someone is really getting under our skin about something, we want to be evasive and hide even more. And so either you'll start lying about it, whether overtly or inadvertently by omission or whatever, or they'll start lying to you. But it is human nature that if we feel judged, we want to hide. And if someone feels like you're judging them, they're going to want to hide.
Yeah. And at the same time, I think it's human nature to think, oh, if I were in their situation, I know I'd react differently.
Oh, yeah. We would always do the right thing for sure.
Yeah.
But I can look at myself and know that I hide and I will want to lie and do or present maybe a not full picture depending on who it is and what the situation is. Yeah. Because we are all protective of those vulnerable places.
Yeah, and that can be because we're ashamed, or it can also be like we don't want to be a burden on someone. We think it's too much for somebody else to constantly be carrying that with us or whatever. And there's lots of reasons to hide.
Right.
But I know that that's mostly what's behind I'm fine when people ask, like you almost always get, I'm fine. Like people ask me, I can tell they're like, how are you? Like that, like it's a deeper, not just how are you? And I'm just like, I'm okay. Like, I feel like I can't just say fine, but who wants to go into all the rest?
I just read in the What If It's Wonderful book, because I'm going through that again with a group of women. And Nicole Zazowski says that the word fine, she has a therapist friend that says that means feelings inside not expressed.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm fine.
Oh, wow.
All right. Well, she says that rescuing someone isn't supporting them and enabling someone's self-destructive behavior isn't loving them. There's a thin line between what constitutes support and what is enabling. And then I felt like she went into some good examples and things of ways that we shouldn't support and maybe ways that we should support.
She did go into like, how do you know the difference between enabling and support?
Right.
And she said enabling is just justifying their behavior. And that could look like giving money to an adult child that just won't get a job. Like that's enabling totally. Or they have poor spending habits, or you maybe make excuses for someone's whatever behavior, or you just ignore it, like to avoid conflict.
Right.
So, and she said, if you're enabling, you're not fostering independence and change. You're just prolonging the suffering, prolonging the debt, prolonging the breakdown, whatever it is. But to support somebody, she said, I liked this. She said, you're giving them the space and the tools to help themselves. She said, think of it like tossing somebody a ball. Let them catch it. If they just drop it on the floor, you don't need to run over there, catch it and run it back, like do all the work for them.
Right.
And she said, it's not like letting them isn't just leaving them totally alone either. Like the second they're ready to catch that ball, you're going to be ready to throw it to them. Like you're there.
Right.
And she did go into kind of what that looks like practically, if that's what you were talking about, Marie. She said, like, let me offer support. That could be, I think this was in the example with her child, like validate how they feel. Like, oh, it's normal to wake up scared in the middle of the night, and she said it was important to separate your emotions from theirs. Like, like this hurts me too, that you're suffering in this way, comfort them. She said a hug sometimes is better than any words. And then assure them that they have the ability, she said, within themselves to do hard things I don't like that wording, but
Mhm.
I would
Right.
add that maybe pray with them about
Yeah.
helping if they're a believer on strengthening their own walk and dependence on the Lord, to
Mhm.
get through it.
Mhm.
Mhm. I appreciated this picture. She said, when someone you love is struggling, I want you to picture yourself putting your arm around their shoulders and offering support as you encourage them to face what they are avoiding. She said, Dr. Ablon calls this the with them approach.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I liked
Mhm.
that. You're not doing it, but you're with them.
Mhm.
Yeah, one other thing that was a big point that I highlighted is she said to really imagine a world where this person is capable, like
Mhm.
they're able to do the hard work. Because she said, I never really thought about this as a valid point, but when you're rescuing, it's like you're conveying the message, I don't think you have what it takes
Mm.
to get
Mhm.
through this.
Mhm.
I thought that
Yeah.
was really interesting. So I'm going to have to do this for you because I don't think you have what it takes.
And you would think it would be loving to step in, be
Hmm.
loving and step in and maybe save someone over and over. Well,
Mhm.
then, they're 35 and then they're 45 and then they're 55 and
Hmm.
you're still saving them, you
Hmm.
know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of her little subtitles was "Let people learn from life." And it sounds kind of harsh. She said, "Let people learn from life. Don't shield them from the consequences of what they choose." And she says that we have to let people deal with the pain of losing a job or losing a partner because they're addicted to some substance. We can't try and run in and make it all better. We have to let people face real world consequences. Maybe they need to spend a night in jail. Maybe they need to lose their job or their family. Maybe you need to take them out of college. Maybe they need to live with
Uh-huh.
you because they need family around. Maybe they're so far gone, they're going to become homeless. Like these were like
Yeah.
extreme and they were like hard
Right.
examples. And when I was reading them, I thought, if someone called me from jail, I don't know if I could just say, maybe you need a night in jail. Like, I don't know. These are hard things. I can see,
Hmm.
though, it's not just everything was going along merrily and then someone ends up in jail. I mean, this was a
No.
progression. So you have to think of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the tough love you hear about, that would
Right.
be really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that this is not in the book? I'm actually just asking you guys your perception. Do you feel that you notice pendulum swings between generations? Like if you know families for long periods of time, that there's one generation that completely ignores everything and their kids grow up, and then those kids do everything for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then those kids grow up and ignore everything for their kids. I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? I know that's
Yeah.
extreme, but
Oh,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
There
is
definitely
this
is a
you
pendulum
know,
swing between generations. Yeah.
how can
Yeah.
we get it right? You
I
know?
had a family member who was a distant cousin, and he had some kind of mental illness. I mean, it was known. It was not really talked about, but easily noticed. He was treated, and because he was never able to live on his own, and it was legitimate. But I had uncles and older people in the family that would just be like, you know, I don't know, just had very harsh advice for him.
Mhm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know? And, and I don't think anybody would say that today about him because they would understand, because it was very, very real and legitimate. But, yeah, I don't think there's anybody would say that to him today, but it was just like, well, he just needs to get up. He just needs to go do it, like with no help whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Where I've noticed this in my family because we do have extended generations living close together. So there'll be opinions that my parents have about different situations that come up with the grandchildren who all live near them, so they know them really well. It's not like they're just seeing them once a year. And they'll have opinions and then it'll be like, and I'm sure this has happened to my siblings talking about some of the decisions I've made with my kids. But then I might need to, as a sibling, as they're questioning in quotes, question a decision my sister or brother are making, then I need to, as the middle generation between that grandchild and the parents, kind of give a different perspective. Well, this is kind of what people think, or this is probably why they're going about that, or, well, people don't really feel that way anymore. And then I'm sure my siblings have had to do that with, I'm sure they've said, why does Marie let her kids do X, Y, or Z? Or why doesn't Marie's kid do X, Y, or Z? What are they thinking? Like, I just know that that's kind of just the given between like generations that have skipped, because they don't understand each other as well. And the one in the middle is kind of the one that's the intermediary to help soothe and smooth out all the understandings.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know that you can get away from that. I think that's probably been true since forever. And someday I won't understand something about my grandchildren, and my kids will be smoothing those things too, because there's just such large age gaps and such large cultural differences and different experiences that you've done. And plus, when you remember things back on your life, you kind of forget a little bit. And, you walked uphill to school in the snow both ways. Like, we don't always remember everything perfectly.
Right.
Yeah, and the older generation is not out in the culture. So they just see, if they're looking at somebody up close in their family, they just see that as a total shock from, the last time they were out in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
But I definitely see generations, doing the best that they can and talking about the other generation and how they did it.
Well, every generation thinks that they're going to invent the right way.
Yeah.
And every child that they raise will look at them with question remarks and say, why'd you ever think that was a good idea? That is just the human nature of the world.
Right. I just look at my kids now and I'm like, just go ahead and sign up for therapy. I'm ready.
It's all my fault.
All do the best we can with what we do at the time.
I know. You get to choose how you raise your kids.
What emotions rise up in you when you decide not to step in or fix something? I mean, it is so easy for me to give advice to someone else not to step in and fix something, and so hard for me to follow it. I mean, I feel anxiety. I think, am I doing the right thing? What will other people think? What does the person that I'm not helping think? Do they think I'm a horrible person? Am I a horrible person? Do I not have as much compassion as the person next to me? Or am I not? I don't know. It's so hard to withhold help from someone that you love.
Yeah. For me, it's fear. Am I doing the right thing? A lot of angst. I'll think I've made the decision, and then one little thing happens and I rethink the whole decision. And a lot of what ifs, like, oh, well, what if this happens and I could have prevented it? Or what if this happens? I should have said something, or I should have done something.
Yeah, my stomach hurts. Literally.
Yeah.
If I'm not saying it and trying to swoop in, then it's internalized and my stomach hurts. And it's the fear and the anxiety that gets internalized. And then, it's on them and it hurts me.
Yeah. And the thing is you have to act like you think this is the right decision. Right. Because the person that you're withholding help from cannot know that they could sway you, that you're teetering on the edge. Like, you have to act like, no, this is this is the right decision, at least outwardly. Inwardly, you can be falling apart, but at least outwardly, you have to give the appearance that you do believe this is the right decision. And it can just be so hard.
Yeah. And it can be little things. I'm going to say little things, we're not, I don't think any of us are talking about an alcoholic or a drug addict or, someone that's mooching on our couch and we're paying all their bills and they're, 30 years old or something. I don't think we're talking about that. But literally, like right now, I have my older son is trying to save money. He needs to replace the alternator in his car. And I think that he should take it to one place and pay more and get it done right. And he's saying, I can save money and I can buy the part here and I can have a friend replace it. And I'm letting him.
But your stomach's hurting.
I'm letting him. And so is Bryce. Like, he's an adult and
Yeah.
he gets to choose. And if his car does not get fixed, if it breaks down, then he'll learn to spend more money later and take it to a place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just uncomfortable. So this is a real life situation.
Yeah.
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 This happens all the time in so many situations. I had noticed that one of my daughters, she has a real, I don't know if it's fear or anxiety about spending her money. She has money. Okay. It's not like she doesn't have money in her bank account. She does. But I will get these phone calls where, oh, I spent so much money on groceries this week. Do you think that's too much? I'm like, well, I mean, you have to eat. I don't think it's too much. And this might only be like a 5-day snapshot. You might not have gone grocery shopping for 10 days before that. Like, I don't know how to judge whether or not this was too much, but I'm going to guess that it probably wasn't because I don't see you as like this big spender. Or, these people, they want to go out for a birthday dinner, but I don't know if I want to spend that much money on a meal. So do you think I could go and just not eat? And I'm like, no. You cannot go and just not eat, and you can certainly afford to buy something on the menu. And what was happening was she would call up with these little things, and I would say, oh, I'll just Venmo you some money for that dinner. I don't want you to have to feel uncomfortable at that birthday dinner. Oh, I'll just Venmo you $5 for a coffee. I know you're in the library, and I know you don't, or, oh, I'll give you an extra money towards groceries. Like, I don't want you to worry about that. And I got to the point where every time she mentioned something to me, I felt like it was a hint for me to step in and take away this anxiety. It's not a real need. Okay, she actually does have the money. And she's not going without if I don't send it. It was more like, I'm afraid to spend my money. And I said, and I didn't offer to pay for the birthday dinner. I said, you know what? I said, you're lucky to be invited to a birthday dinner. You have friends. They want to go out and celebrate with you. You get out there, you go to the restaurant, you order a real meal, and you have fun. You have plenty of money, and you have to learn how to spend it. I'm tired of getting these phone calls. I'm afraid of spending money. I said, in a year, you're going to be on your own, and you know what? You're going to have to spend money. Everyone spends money on food, entertainment, shelter, clothing. Like, that's just a part of life, and you need to get comfortable with spending it. But it's really hard because it's not that hard for me to Venmo her a little extra money and take away the anxiety in the moment. It sounds worse for me. And plus, I always know in the back, this is where I fall down because as I talked about my anxiety, well, so-and-so's mother's sending them money. Oh, now I'm not as compassionate as so-and-so's mother. I'm a horrible person. When really, I feel like I'm doing the best thing for you. You need to learn to spend money. You have it. Okay, it'd be different if you didn't have it. So anyways, it can be uncomfortable.
This is
We've
a
had
racket.
that situation.
Yeah.
And I've actually said, go and don't eat.
Oh, you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know 2 of my kids are tight spenders, and they have gone to things and not eaten, or they brought their own food.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
Yep.
like, I think that's a great option.
I guess this must just be a common thing amongst this age group, but I told her, you
it
have
is.
money, so you better go and buy a meal.
Well, I told you with this whole like alternator thing with the car, the first conversation was, I don't have the money to pay for that. And thankfully, Bryce was like, actually, you do. It's all in stocks.
Oh.
You've been putting money in the stock market. You just don't want to spend it, but you need a car and it needs to run so you can go to work.
Yeah.
So then it went to, well, how can I lessen the bill? And so, yeah, those are hard things. But let me tell you, Marie, these kids are running a racket on us. Everybody has a friend that has a mom that's paying. All right.
That's true.
They've been pulling one over on us. There is no mom out there that's willing to do this. Don't fall for it.
She's not real.
She is not real.
I feel like Venmo is running a racket on us because with my older kids, there was no Venmo. If they were hours away, I mean, maybe the next time they're home, I give them some cash, but there wasn't any way to like quickly help someone. I think sometimes ease of help is actually bad for us. It should be harder to help people because then we actually take a step back and think, does this person actually need help? Or am I just feeling uncomfortable in this situation and want to just get out of it? And so, this Venmo has probably not actually helped.
Oh my, yeah. If you had to write a check and send it through the mail.
No, I wouldn't be doing that.
They don't even need it by the time they can get it.
But like if we said that to our parents, they'd be like, well, maybe I'll give you some cash for Christmas.
Oh, I know. Yeah, there was truly no way they were going to get cash. They weren't going to mail any cash, and they were not going to mail me a check. And I wasn't even going to consider asking. That's the thing. I wouldn't have even considered asking. So talk about different generations.
Truly.
So anyways, off on a tangent, but all that to say, like even these smaller things where we, in quotes, want to help. Well, what is the helpful thing to do? Develop their character or send them some money? I mean, I think sometimes it's a little bit of both, but you got to take time to think about it.
But Marie, like these are smaller things, but if we continued along that path, they would become bigger things.
That's true.
Yeah. So I do think it's important to capture each moment and an opportunity with these young adults that we're trying to want them to be independent of us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I liked this question though. Like it said, who taught you that, in quotes, helping equals love? And I think lots of people have probably taught me that. So I wouldn't want to put blame on anyone. I would take responsibility because I think that this is even the root of a lot of like social issues and political issues. Like most people want to help other people, but you have to look at, is this really helping? Like, is it really more about making me feel better or making me look better? Like we kind of talked about that in there, like, what kind of mom am I? It's more what maybe for appearances or how we feel, but really are we just enabling and prolonging things? And I think that's kind of the root of a lot of the world's problems right now is like, we all want to help people, but there's different ways to do it that give better results than enabling them to just continue on making bad choices or
I know this was all my fault as a mom. I take full responsibility. And we talked about, our brains developing and all that business. I had Abby Ray at 21. And I remember the first time she hit me and I needed to say no. You have to start teaching your children boundaries, discipline. Well, discipline in any form when I became the mom at 21 felt like it was mean. Like I remember feeling mean to say no. Or limiting her or time out or popping her on the leg. And, when she needed to stop an action that really was harmful to herself or me. I struggled with that. I struggled with disciplining from the get-go and learned over the years through situations, especially as they grew and matured and things like that, that really it was more loving to set boundaries.
Right.
And so it just was something that I just remember how I felt. I remember feeling like I was mean to tell her no.
Yeah.
And at its infancy, that's how it felt. That's what it looked like.
Yeah. Some things don't feel kind, but if you have to have the bigger picture in mind.
Yeah. Then I had to realize, wait, it's actually more loving for me to keep her safe, to teach her how to live in the world, to teach her the skills to self-soothe and to function in the world without harming herself or other people. But it was a shift.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone has to teach us that helping equals love. I think we all just kind of pick that up. Like I was even thinking of that show, The Middle. I mean, I say this tongue in cheek, but we laugh and we say this in our own family now because of that show. You do for family. So you do. You go above and beyond. You do stuff you don't want to do. You do for family. Yep. And like that's just always the message that and you do for family. I mean, you sacrifice and you definitely take more time and stuff like that. But I think sometimes we can take it too far if it gets into some of these adult problems of addiction or inabilities to have a job or whatever, you can't do for family in perpetuity. At some point, people have to do for
Right.
themselves. So
Yeah.
They do. Like, we have to separate ourselves from our children's failures and successes. I think it's too easy to take responsibility for both. And as our children, because we've nurtured them, raised them, sent
Mhm.
them off, somehow we feel like anything they do points back to us.
Mhm.
Well, it doesn't. Like, they get to make choices. They get to choose. And it's really amazing when your kid chooses, something wonderful and it becomes a success and you're like, gosh, I had nothing to do with that. Like, look at my kids shine. Wow.
Mhm.
God really gifted them in that way. But I think the same is true if they're struggling, to separate yourself from the struggle and to really then pray and try to help come alongside them as they're trying to learn how to get through that.
Yeah. I almost think it would be easier, especially with something of this magnitude, like an addiction, to go through something yourself than it would be to watch somebody you love go through that.
Right.
Just
Mhm.
because, I don't know, not that you have a whole lot of control over yourself, but that is the only thing you can, the only person that you can
Oh.
change. So it's hard it would be really hard to watch and just be
Mhm.
totally hands off of a situation like that.
Right.
I feel for people in those situations, and unfortunately, it's
Mhm.
probably true. I mean, it's probably pretty common.
Right.
Mhm. So we've actually been talking for quite a long time about the first chapter. So I think we're going to actually split these chapters up and talk about how to provide support the right way in chapter 17. So you get a part 1 and a part 2 of this one.
Ending on a little cliffhanger.
These were hard
Dun, dun.
chapters, but yet I think more examples are coming to our mind as we talk.
True.
So she
True.
ends chapter 16 by saying, so the question becomes, how do you support someone effectively? And so that's what we will talk about next week.
Okay.
All right, listeners, we'd love to know what you thought about chapter 16. If you're reading the book along with us, you can find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast, or you can email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
You guys, it's that time of year. I just pulled out my thankful tree. And I am a huge fan. All right, so it was a funny story. I've talked about this every year. But funny story, it came out earlier this year than ever before. And the reason was it's getting darker outside, and we happen to have a few cloudy days here in Georgia. Bryce happened to be gone for the day. And I was like, there's nobody here to stop me. So I'm doing it. I was so excited. I was like giggling to myself, getting my Christmas tree out of the attic, walking it downstairs, and setting it up. So it's a skinny Christmas tree. However, it has thankful leaves all over it. And every year I pull these leaves out and I see Nathaniel's little handwriting from before he could spell words, from years ago, and just different things that my kids have written throughout the years on that tree. And it just brings me so much joy. And we even added a few leaves the other day. So it's the thankful tree.
Aw,
Yay,
that's so
that's
neat.
awesome.
Now, do you keep that up and turn it into your Christmas tree? Is that
Yes, it transforms into Christmas. I will take the leaves off and put then the family ornaments that the kids have made throughout the years and maybe travel things, that we've picked up. It becomes that tree.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, as I was walking this morning, it kind of caught me off guard. I had to turn and look. I saw someone's lit up Christmas tree in the
I
window.
did too.
Oh, you did, Julie?
Yes.
That would be
And
me.
this was a week ago.
Oh, whoa.
That
Julie.
would have been me.
So you're not alone, Mindy. I mean,
No,
they may not be
no.
using them as a thankful tree, but people are getting their trees out.
Listen, mine came out on October 24th.
That's amazing.
Wow.
All right, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
I'm a fan of a company called Quince. Are you familiar with it?
Well, I've heard them advertised on podcasts before. Are they like curtains and bedding?
Well, it's clothing it's a lot of different things: men, women, babies, home.
Okay.
And so the last time I was at my daughter's back in September, I noticed she had a lot of new cute clothes, and I was like, "Where'd you get that? Where'd you get that?" And she said, "Quince."
Mm.
And I went to a book club, and I loved this lady's shirt, and I said, "Where'd you get that?" And she goes, "Quince." And then
Oh,
everybody in the book club, or 2 or 3 of us, ordered the same shirt. They have a
really?
lot of, linen, they have a lot of cashmere, wool, like, really nice fabrics at about half the price of where
What?
you'd pay somewhere else.
Oh, I need to
And
check this
apparently
out.
they order directly from the source, like, what I'm about to tell you came from India directly to my
Okay.
house. So they kinda cut out the middleman, so that's how they keep their prices lower, but it's very high quality clothing, like, things that it's not trendy stuff. It would be like staple pieces you might buy.
Mhm.
But I wanted some curtains over my front door. Like I have a glass front door, it just has a wooden panel at the bottom and glass above. And then the side lights are all glass down to the
Mhm.
floor. And it's just, like on a short wall, it takes up that whole wall.
Mhm.
And at night, you can kinda see all the way back to the back kitchen of my house through the front
Mhm.
door, and we live very close to other neighbors in the street. I'm not used to that, so, like, everybody that walks by, I see them, and they see me, and my dog sees them.
Mhm.
And so I had been looking at how I didn't want anything on the door, like a shade or a blind, because I had these side lights. So I hung a really pretty brass rod, and I got these beautiful curtains, and they just hang over to the side of the door, and then at night, I shut them. It's really
I've
cool,
seen
like,
people
once
do
they're
that,
going
Julie,
out.
in here. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend that has done that, and I've always loved it. It's just kind of a cozy feel. So I've looked and looked for curtains, and then I finally found them on Quince,
Oh.
and
Wow.
they're a coastal stripe linen cotton curtains, so they're lined, but they're not blackout. They still are
Okay.
light diffusing, and they're just really pretty. They were 100 and let's see, they were like 179 and I got them for 89.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
wow.
traditional retail would be 179 and I paid 89.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're a lot cheaper than Pottery Barn or Ballard or any place like that, and
Mm.
the
Wow.
quality was really good, and they came FedEx in about a week.
Oh.
So,
How are the returns,
Wow.
Julie? Are they easy returns?
free shipping,
Oh.
returns for a year.
Oh, I mean, you got me sold right there.
I'm glad you're telling us this
Yes,
before Christmas.
yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm definitely going to check them out. All right. This week, I'm a fan of Brick. So it's a brick device for your phone. Have you heard of it before I go and explain it?
I think you mentioned it.
Have I?
Yeah,
Okay. I don't think I've used it as an I'm a fan, though. I think I've
no.
said that I thought about getting one. Maybe when in a previous episode. Anyways, I needed to get some control over my social media apps usage on my phone. What was happening is I would fall asleep scrolling, and then as soon as I woke up in the morning before I got out of bed, I would tell myself, "Oh, I'm just going to see if I have any text messages." And then, you don't really want to get out of bed, so you move to something else on your phone. Then you start scrolling and you go into this. I mean, I would waste sometimes like an hour or something. And so I was like, oh my goodness, I have to stop. And so my daughters had heard about this at camp this summer. It's called Brick, and it is this little cube, like it's a magnetic plastic gray box. And I just stuck it in an inconspicuous spot on my refrigerator, and I downloaded the Brick app on my phone. And it can set up personally for you. So you can pick what things that you can block on your phone. You can block like all your text messages, all your emails. You can block your Safari. You can block your social media. The only thing you can't block are phone calls so that you can always call on your phone. But anyways, I didn't really need help blocking my messages or my Safari or anything. I needed help blocking Instagram and Facebook. So I set it up so that at 9 o'clock every night, my Facebook and Instagram, I can't get on them from my phone. Now, I could go up to my computer and get on if I really wanted to, but I can't get on them from my phone. And I can't get on them again until I have gone out to the kitchen and put my phone on this brick and hit unbrick. So it's not even like I could say, well, I want it to go off at 8 o'clock every morning. No, it doesn't happen until I physically go out there. So I am not the type of person that is going to wake up at 6:30 in the morning and go out there and unbrick and then get back in my bed and waste an hour. Like if I've gotten up, then I've gotten up. So what's happening is a lot of times now I'm not even unbricking until like 9 or 10, like after I've already walked Clara and eaten my breakfast. Or one time I left the house and forgot to ever unbrick. And so I was out running errands and I wanted to check something like, oh, I can't check that because that's, I can't get on it. Now there are 5 emergency unbricks. So if I wanted to do an emergency unbrick, I could, but I think then the device is done. Like I think
An emergency Facebook glance.
Well, I was thinking, I know. I think maybe if someone had bricked their messages though, and then they left the house for the day and they realized, oh, I really do need access to my messages.
Right.
Or I was thinking like this could easily happen to me on a trip. So say I'm used to unbricking my phone at home, but I have to leave at 7 in the morning on a vacation and I forget to unbrick. I can only unbrick if my brick is physically with me, so I could use one of my emergency unbricks. But the idea is just that if you try to do things that you can, allow more time on your phone, you always hit allow more time.
Like
but this is something physical.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of my daughters have bought this and it's helped them a lot. And more than one person can use it in the household. So like Nick and Abigail use theirs. It's just magnetic on their refrigerator. So it's not like you have to buy one for each individual person. Highly recommend. I will put a link to the Brick website in our show notes.
Nice not to be on social media. I mean, I'm rarely on it, maybe once a week. And it's really nice. I have not missed it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what
it's
I
kind
like.
of freeing.
I like buy, sell, trade a lot.
Yeah, but to me, it's just not worth it.
That's a good use of it, though.
Yeah, it is a good use.
I think.
I have kids that are active on Instagram. I like to read the things they send me.
Yeah.
Like there are things that I do like on it. I just don't like to mindlessly go to it. And this is kind of helping me not mindlessly go to it.
Right.
So, anyway.
That's awesome. Might be a good Christmas gift, too.
I know. If anyone in my family wanted one, I'd be happy to get one for Christmas. So if you're listening, put it on your list.
That's right.
All right, you guys, I enjoyed talking with you today, and we'll talk with you next week.
All right. Sounds great.
Okay,
see ya.
Bye.
We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.